Welcome back for Module 3, Getting Started in Tableau Public. We did start looking at data in Tableau in the last section, but before we continue, I wanted to just take a moment to talk about why we're using this program. There are a lot of other tools you can use to visualize data. I've compiled a list of some of the ones that I know about, and I encourage you to explore them. However, Tableau is a really popular product, and so there are all kinds of resources out there for you to consult as you work on your own projects. It's an industry standard in the business world for code-free visualization, and it has a lot of features and capabilities. It certainly has its limitations, though. The free version that we are using, Tableau Public, requires you to publish all of your visualizations online, so you can't use sensitive or proprietary data. This version is also limited in the kinds of data it can connect to, and it's not ideal for visualizing research data because it's hard to reproduce your analysis, compared to visualizing in R or Python. There are a lot of "how did I do this yesterday" moments when you're using Tableau, and the software updates frequently. So, of course, the design principles and tidy data guidelines will apply whatever tool you choose to use, but we're going to use Tableau Public just as an example for this course based on the abundance of resources. So let's go ahead and open up the program and continue with our World Bank data. Here is where we left off. I've connected to the World Bank data for the 13 countries that we chose and used the data interpreter to clean it. Now we can go, at the bottom of the screen here, to Sheet 1. This is the worksheet view, and it's the main interface for creating visualizations. The bar farthest to the left shows you the connection to your data source and the various columns that it contains. You'll notice that Tableau has split these columns into dimensions and measures. Dimensions are our labels, whereas measures are our quantities, or our how many variables. Along the top, we see our columns shelf and our rows shelf, and we build charts by dragging and dropping dimensions and measures into this area. The main visualization area is in the middle of the screen. On the bottom left is our menu for adding a new data source, creating new worksheets, dashboards, and data stories, and then toggling between them. And then this area, Pages, Filters, and Marks, will let us control how information is displayed. So we're going to start by creating a line graph that shows the fertility rate over time for each country. So I will click on the year dimension and drag it over to columns, and this roughly gives us our x-axis. Now I will take the fertility rate measure and drag it over to rows, and this gives us our y-axis. Now, you'll see the numbers on our y-axis don't look right for this measure. Our measure is fertility rate in total births per woman, and our numbers are between 80 and 90 for quite a while, which isn't right. We need to show each country on here as well, rather than just a sum of the data for all of the countries. To do that, I'll grab country name dimension, and drag it over to detail. Now we have a line for each of our countries. So this is what I want, and I'm going to take a few moments to rename things. Double-click next to Sheet 1, and you can change the title. And choose from some different formatting options. And I'm going to edit this title a little bit too, because this code at the end isn't useful for our viewers. And I'll rename the sheet for my reference later. I am going to essentially do the same thing for each of the other 3 measures. So I'll create a new worksheet, create our x-axis, create our y-axis, and then add our country names to detail. Now, if we wanted to show some more data on the sheet right now, we could experiment with pulling different measures onto some of our marks. So if I wanted to also try to show fertility rate on here, I could bring fertility rate over to color. Now this isn't a color gradient that's very easy to see because the values are relatively close between all of these countries, but we can see that Nepal is in a much lighter blue and Niger is in a darker blue, and Afghanistan as well, of course, although it lightens a little bit over time. I don't want this though. And I guess I should note, double-clicking on the axis like we've been doing to edit the titles also gives you the ability to adjust some other things about the axis. So right now the range is automatic, but if I didn't want to start the axis at 0, I could specify where I wanted it to start and end. I could do a logarithmic scale if I had data points that were really far apart, but that's not really useful with this data. And I could specify how far apart I wanted the tick marks to be. If I wanted more detail or less detail. Okay, so here are our 4 series. Now I'd like to create a map so that I can see where these countries actually are in the world. So we'll just add another sheet and then drag country name right into the middle. And this Show Me tool gives you suggestions based on the data that you've chosen. But it's in the way right now. So it automatically gives us this map of dots, which is not very useful and certainly not as helpful in understanding where things are. So I'm going to go over to Marks and change this manually to Map. And now we have an area map like we're more used to seeing. So I would like to add some more data to make this map more useful. So I am going to return to my data source, and I'm going to add a connection to a new worksheet. Now there is a file in the Moodle module that has just the gross national income per capita for the year 2017. So if you download and save that to your computer, then we'll add it to the data that we already connected. Add a connection, Microsoft Excel, here it is. Okay, so you should now see two different data connections. We have the first, which has the series that we chose, which is displayed right here, and then we have the GNI 2017 file. So let's make sure that GNI 2017 is highlighted, and I can drag the data sheet into the middle with the other one. If you click on the Venn diagram that is between the two data sheets, it'll show you what type of join it's using to connect the data and what fields it is used to connect them. So an inner join like this one only includes the fields that are common to both spreadsheets. Tableau recognized the common country codes between the two spreadsheets, so it's using this variable to link the sheets. So you'll also see that some variables that occur on both sheets repeat in the data preview window, and you can hide these duplicate columns by hovering your mouse in the top right corner and selecting hide. So I'm going to get rid of year, year code, country name, country code, and now we just have our GNI per capita. So let's go back to our map sheet. I'm going to name it map so I can find it later. We can color code the countries by their GNI per capita. So drag the measure GNI per capita, here it is, onto the color button. Then drag the dimension year, income per capita. You'll notice again though that our scale doesn't look quite right. It's adding together the gross national income per capita for all of the years that we have included in our data. And because of the way that our data source is displaying it, even though we only have data for 2017, it's repeating it for every year. The way that we resolve this is to bring the year dimension into the filters area. And now we have a range of values, 1969 to 2018. And I'm just going to adjust this so that it only shows 1 year's values. And that changed our scale. And it's more accurate now. So now we have a map with income per capita, and 4 line charts with our series for each country over time. In the next video, I'm going to put them all together into a dashboard and a data story. Thanks for joining.